My best friend's fiance demands I stop using my nickname for her, but I refused.
Say my name, or don't.
So, there is me, 29 female, my best friend, also 29 female, and her fiance, 30s male. They just got engaged last week. I'm going to be their maid of honor. Yay!
Yay.
Her fiance is fine. I think not in the hot way, but just in like the it's okay way.
Yep.
We're not best friends forever or anything, but he's cool. He's kind of socially an awkward nerd, and it's hard to get him to open up without bringing up what he's most interested in, what he does for a living, whatever TV show he's watching, etc. And then the conversation with him can get a little one-sided. And by the way, this comes from user D and Cease. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit and submit them there. So, my best friend and I have been friends since we were 15. 5-ish years ago, before my best friend started dating her fiance, she and I watched The Wire together. We both now consider it our favorite show. Anyway, after watching that show, I started calling her D as a nickname because, well, her name starts with D. And also, there's a character we both like who's also called D. I almost exclusively call her by her nickname now. Warning, there's a spoiler for The Wire in the following paragraph, so if you haven't seen it, don't keep reading.
Dang it. Oh, well.
Honestly, if you haven't watched...
I guess it's over.
The Wire's been out for 20 years.
No, I need more time.
You've had your time. I got a very unexpected message from her fiance last night on Facebook. He told me that now that he and Dee are getting married, he kindly requests that I stop calling her by the nickname I gave her, as it's not a very mature way of addressing her. I would hate to think of you calling her that during your speech at our wedding. He also went on to say that he never approved of that nickname anyway because the character gets unalived in the show, and he doesn't like that imagery associated with my future wife. I'm not the most diplomatic person, so I don't entirely know how to respond. I'm not even entirely sure if I should say anything at all. There's a ha ha ha, but also part of me that wants to send back, sure, no problem, bro. I'll just start calling her Brody instead, or maybe Omar. Oh, I know. I'll start calling her Snoop. Snoop would be a great fit for her. A similar part of me wants to agree with him, and then during their wedding, just use her nickname constantly during my speech. And there's another, admittedly angrier part of me that wants to say, what? Are you kidding me? No. Request denied. Oh, and F you. Don't ever dictate to me how I should interact with my best friend. There's also this weird possessiveness associated with his wording the message. He never calls her by her name, just a lot of my future wife. My fiance. My best friend is fiercely independent, and I know she wouldn't appreciate being talked about like that. So maybe I should forward the message on to her, saying something like, hey, your fiance just sent this to me, and I don't really know what to make of it. Edit for an important detail that I forgot to add. My best friend and I are both bi, and we have macked in the past. A little smoochy. Just
the
a
50-50
couple,
game.
just
I
a
love
little make out. A good handful of times in high school. We're like, we need to practice for our future boyfriends. And now we're like, what do you mean? What boyfriends? Right, yeah, boyfriends, sure, And I don't know, 4 or 5 times in college. So you, that's an important detail.
Yeah.
That's a pretty important detail.
Hey, they're just friends. I mean, they're just trying to figure out for their future, partners.
Yeah, friends that had talked about dating each other.
Practice for the wedding kiss.
A little slip of the tongue and purple trader.
Whoa!
Purple trader with a little slip of their tongue.
Oh my God.
Purple traitor, just for the chaos. Oh, why do my eyes look like that? I'm melting. We had talked about dating each other, but I don't know. We love each other, but I don't think we would ever be in love with each other. We're pretty different people, which is why I think we make such good friends, but not terribly good significant others. The last time we talked about being in a relationship was like, I don't know, 8 years ago. It's now only just occurring to me that maybe this has something to do with her fiance's unexpected message. Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks, y'all. And there's a small update.
Okay. Un poquito.
Well, I just got off the phone with Dee. Oh, she didn't stop using that nickname.
Nope.
She called me and I started to answer like I usually do, which is, sup, Dee? But then, remembering that maybe she doesn't want to be called that anymore, I just sort of awkwardly extended the D sound into her full name. So I answered like, sup, Dee? Full name? Rest of name? She admittedly said, fiance told you to stop calling me Dee, didn't he? I said yes, and she exclaimed, what? The F! I can't believe he actually effing did that. Look, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later. And don't stop calling me D. You got it, D, I replied. We said our goodbyes and she hung up. So I think someone might have crossed the line. And we do have some comments here.
Okay.
Let's get into them a little bit here. Comment number 1, tell your friend, okay? Ask her if it bothers her that you call her D. And as we now already know, it's not the case.
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm 99% sure, OP says, that she doesn't mind that I call her D. She never hesitated to let me know when I've done something to annoy her, but I will be sure to ask her anyway. Comment 2 says, whatever you do, do not use your speech to sabotage their wedding, which I agree with.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this guy seems oddly possessive, and I think you should follow other people's advice by forwarding your friend the email and asking her if she shares her husband's opinion. But even if she does not share his opinion on the nickname, don't play the prank of saying okay to her fiance's message and then turning around and dropping her nickname all throughout your maid of honor speech. A wedding is not the time to do that. It'll ruin the day, and suddenly one of the biggest days of your friend's life will be all about you and your I was here before her husband act of defiance. And that makes you know better than her husband, because then the two of you are playing a weird possessive game of who lays first claim to a fully grown independent adult. And there is a third comment that says your edit is super important. And I'm just going to see... okay, there's another update. We're going to the update.
Okay.
Before we go to the update.
Yes.
John.
Dakota.
What is your take on I guess, the hot button take on... Is it okay to tell someone who's getting married, or to address someone getting married by a nickname?
Yep. I mean, that is the hottest topic. I mean, it is the most hotly contested, debated topic in human history.
Is it just
I would say
the thickest line you don't cross ever? Now that it's my wife, her nickname belongs to me.
Obviously, no. It's like, hey, it's in a vacuum, right? We'll talk about the other thing in a second. Like in a vacuum, hey, it's fun, it's cute, they're friends. Super weirdly controlling, super weirdly possessive of fiance, of the groom. Not liking that. I'm not liking that. I say keep the nickname. However, we got that very important update, which did claim that they would, practice kissing for their future boyfriends and
smooch here and there.
Husbands and everything. And maybe this is where, maybe groom is using this as like a vehicle to like try and address, like, what if he's like, next step, I don't want you to speak. Next step after that, I don't want you bridesmaid or whatever. Next step after that, I don't want you at the wedding.
That's right.
Get out of here.
Starts the little baby step increments into the
slope.
control.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I'm just going to throw it out there. I think I'm going to say that's my prediction for what he does, and then it ends up in a divorce, and then OP and her end up together.
You mean a divorce?
You got me, Keon.
Yeah.
I always got you, baby.
Oh yeah. And your eyes are matching the background today. Look at that.
It's like a green screen put on your face.
Nice. Wow. Everybody tell Keon how cute he is.
Ooh, do it.
Don't.
And you know what? I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to read this comment because
context.
I forgot that the edit they were talking about was the smooching edit. So your edit is super important. This is probably a huge issue between the three of you. These two are now getting married, but one member of that future marriage has made out with their best friend multiple times. It's probably causing some discomfort. I'd say be prepared for the dynamics of your friendship to change, because not many people would be okay with someone they were marrying being so close friends with someone they had been close with in other ways, making out and you saying you love her. There's probably a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of this that you're not hearing about, or maybe you are and you just didn't include it. He brought the nickname up because it's something intimate and close you and your friend share, and I'd expect a lot more of the same. Looking at it from his point of view, can you blame him? That take was kind of whack.
Yeah, the nickname thing is stupid. However, if the groom was like, hey, look, I know you're super close with your friend, but I got to admit, it does make me a little bit uncomfortable, and I just want to, like, I don't know, make sure there's nothing that, like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but this is how I'm feeling. That is acceptable. Not going to her like, hey, you know that nickname you got? You got to stop that. I'm big man. I'm big man, You know I have a nickname. No. Stupid.
I just love the way he talks. My beautiful husband. That's why I'm marrying him. His voice.
Hey, you're my wife. Yeah. Goodbye.
I picked him up in a time machine. I went back to the caveman times.
Hottest Neanderthal on the street.
Okay, let's get into this update.
Let's go.
Dee and her older brother are very close, and she wanted him to be one of her bridesmaids. I guess that would make him a bridesman or something. Whatever, that doesn't matter. Anyway, the message her brother received said that will no longer be happening, as the wedding was going to be traditional, and Dee's brother would be replaced with the fiance's sister, who lives on the other side of the country, who Dee has met like 4 times. So not someone you would want on your bridal party, a stranger. Dee's cousin was also messaged informing her that because of her lifestyle, she will no longer be part of Dee's bridal party. However, if her cousin leaves her wife at home for the wedding, her position will be reconsidered. If you can cosplay as a straight woman, we'll let you participate. That's ridiculous. Another of Dee's bridesmaids has short hair, a nose piercing, and small but visible tattoos.
Here we go.
Again, dismissed from the bridal party unless she changes her appearance to be more presentable. And then there was me. I guess he couldn't find much dirt on me, so he just decided to reprimand me for my choice in nicknames for her or something. I don't effing know. She was completely unaware that any of this had happened and was just quietly sitting at home alone when her brother called her and was like, what the heck is going on? Dee was understandably very confused, and her brother explained the message. At first, she thought he was kidding, but he forwarded it to her. She immediately called her fiance, who was out with friends, and demanded an explanation. He calmly explained that yes, he did send that message to her brother, and he messaged the other members in her bridal party as well, and told her his reasons why. As if on cue, her phone starts blowing up with texts and phone calls from her cousin. Understandably, as her cousin arguably got the worst message out of all of us. Dee basically said to her fiance, "You need to come home right now." Hangs up on him and calls her cousin. Let's go, Dee. Nice.
Let's go.
Power play.
Give
Power
it to
play
him,
time.
D. Give him that D.
You need to come home and change everything about your personality. After spending time calming her cousin down, she calls me and we had our brief but informative conversation. And then she called her tattooed friend. At this point, it's been about half an hour since she first called her fiance, and he still wasn't home. So she called him again, being like, "Where are you? Come home right now." Her fiance then tells her, no, he will not be coming home right now. He is out with friends and will return when he chooses to. He threw in, quote, "You're being emotional right now anyway. I expect you to stop acting like a child by the time I return."
I could say that to you.
Yeah, you're being the child.
That's right.
Child on you. You are child.
What if we called husband Lil D?
Ooh.
Yeah, little,
For the implications.
little D. The implications are simply irresistible.
Irresistible.
So she was so furious that she just hung up on him. He finally meanders his butt home, and she immediately loses her crap on him. He keeps telling her to stop being irrational and think logically, to which she basically responded with, "What the F are you talking about? There was nothing rational or logical about what you did."
There we go. Yes.
He starts talking about how weddings aren't about the bride. What?
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
Which is like, what? What? It's like the only rule
Stop.
is...
Stop.
That's crazy. OP says, which is like, what? No. Dee is not the type of person to think that her wedding is only going to be about her. It's about bringing family and friends together, and he can't have people like your friends in front of all of his friends and family. What about his professional reputation? He's some highfalutin lawyer?
Highfalutin.
Highfalutin? Highfalutin lawyer. What will his parents think when they see her friend with all the piercings? She has one nose piercing, and me calling her some ridiculous black name during my wedding speech. So, like, divorce and then also, like, throw him out of the planet's gravity into a black hole using a trebuchet of some kind.
Yes.
Where he will turn into stinky spaghetti.
Stinky spaghetti.
What?
The most
What?
painful way.
OP clarifies. Look, I never used that phrase, but this is the phrase I can think of. What is this? I don't even. Black name? What? Black name? Dee, at this point, was so furious that she tried to throw him out. But he just sighed, sat down on the couch, and said, "You are being utterly ridiculous right now. I am not leaving. You need to calm down." So she decided to leave instead. As she was packing her stuff, he kept heaving great sighs and calling some variation of, "You're being so irrational. Calm down," from across the apartment. So she left. She called me, absolutely livid, asking if she could come over to my place. I, of course, said yes. And when she arrived, she told me everything that happened. There was one point when we were talking where she covered her face with her hands and just started sobbing, which is fair, because that's something you do when you realize the guy you thought you were going to marry is actually so grotesque that you don't want anything to do with him anymore. She said that she knew that their relationship hasn't been going well for a while. All he did was go to work, spend time with his other obnoxious lawyer friends, come home, watch CNN or MSNBC, and sleep. Their conversations became painfully one-sided, where he would talk endlessly about something she didn't find interesting, and whenever she would try to change the subject, he would basically wait for her to stop and then keep talking as if she had said nothing at all. He never helps clean around the apartment as, quote, "cleaning was not as important to him as it was to her, so she should do it. And it was going to get messy again anyway." He stopped holding her hand in public. If she was upset or sad about something, he would always find some excuse to leave. I mean, the list just keeps going. He's just this thoughtless, self-centered jerk. Honestly, I've always gotten wienerish vibes from him. See a previous post where I briefly mentioned how hard it was to get him to talk to you unless you talked about something he was interested in, but I never knew that he was that big of a wiener. She and her fiance texted last night and this morning, and again, there was more, "Stop this, you're being childish, come home." He's so nonchalant. Ugh.
Sucks.
She said she wasn't being childish, that there was some really serious problems in their relationship, and she doesn't think they can move forward without some premarital counseling. He replied with, "Fine. Now, are you coming home tonight?" It initially took her a few hours for her to respond to that text. As soon as she read it, she slumped over on my couch, pulled her knees up to her chest, and said, "I really don't want to go back in that apartment." She later said that she has a really heavy feeling that even if they did go to premarital counseling, nothing would change. She could easily see him thinking that he is smarter than the therapist and trying to use the therapist to convince her that she's being irrational. I then asked, "So does that mean the wedding isn't going to happen?" And she just burst into tears again. Sad face. I felt really awful asking that, and I probably shouldn't have asked that. I held her and apologized and kept saying, it's okay, you don't have to answer that right now," until she calmed down. She decided she wanted another night away from him, and she texted him to let him know that. He has yet to respond. Honestly, I don't even think you're out of line for asking that, and if I was in your position, I would be like, not even being like, "So do you think the wedding's not going to happen?" I'd be like, you can't marry this guy. This guy's showing you exactly what's going to happen for the rest of your life if you marry this guy.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, it's like she's like, this is like the moment where she's like, everything's falling apart, and like how insane it must be to like actually have it sink in that this is the man you were going to marry.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, let's get a good night of sleep and like whatever else. And then it's like, oh, probably not the best move to marry him.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't continue to hammer the point home right now, right?
Yeah.
Just get it out there, then go to sleep, wake up, here we go.
Here we go. Or here we don't.
Out of curiosity, I did ask her if she thinks his message to me had anything to do with us hooking up in the past.
Ooh.
She said no. She never told him that she was bi. She said that she never felt comfortable sharing that with him. She burst into tears again when she said this, admitting that's probably a sign that this relationship was effed up from the start. And we agree.
Ding, 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 ding.
Anyway, Dee and I both took the day off from work. We spent it eating ice cream and day drinking and marathoning Parks and Rec. We went for a walk and she talked and cried a lot. Right now, all her bridesmaids, including her brother, are at my place. They're contacting her all day, asking if she was okay and if they could come see her. I told her that she can tell them all that they can come over to my place later, and initially she said no. She said she was so embarrassed by everything that happened that she wasn't sure she could handle seeing everyone. I shut that down pretty quick, saying she had nothing to be embarrassed about. All this BS has everything to do with her fiancé and not her. It took a little more convincing, and her friends and brother offering to bring some booze and some ice cream. But they're all here now. Her cousin brought her wife too, and Dee started crying again as soon as they walked in and apologized profusely to the two of them. They insisted that wasn't necessary, but she apologized anyway, and I want to apologize to you.
Why, Dakota?
Because you can listen to full episodes just like this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. and wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio perhaps. All you have to do is search OK Storytime. And then you've got the full catalog. And I have to apologize because you're going to spend the next 48 consecutive days listening to our podcast.
You're going to have the best 48 days of your life awake.
It's true.
Because you can't fall asleep because of how riveting it is.
Can't fall asleep. No sleep, 48 days, nothing else on your agenda. And, you know, I apologized at first for that, but I'm taking that back. You're welcome. Clearly,
yes,
it's hard to realize the guy you were going to marry and that you're not going to marry him.
Yeah.
But I think this is the perfect environment to have been in with one of your best friends. And all the people who are, you know, like in your bridal party are also there to support you. It's always going to be rough. It would be weird if you were just like, no, this is totally fine. Unaffected.
Yeah.
That would be abnormal, I think. So let's go ahead and finish this story here.
Okay.
She's going to spend the night at her brother's tonight. I told her she was welcome to stay here, but her brother and his wife have like an actual house. And so there are guest rooms she can stay in as opposed to my 1-bedroom apartment. Said brother is making her favorite dinner right now. There's about 20 pints of Ben & Jerry's in the fridge and more wine and vodka than you can shake a stick at. We still got Parks and Rec on in the background and we're all piled on my couch with her.
Treat yourself.
She's all burritoed up, treat yourself, in a blanket, and I dumped a basket of stuffed animals on her head earlier today, which made her crack up laughing.
Treating yourself.
That's nice.
Cute.
That's treating your
Laughter
friend.
is the best of medicine.
And you know what? This is like the bridal group. These are the people she wanted to celebrate with. The biggest moment of her life.
Exactly.
Coming together. It makes sense.
Support.
Good.
We like this.
Support.
Basically, we're all just trying to be there for her as best as we can. Comments? So comment number 1.
Talk to me.
Talk about escalating quickly, my God. Well, it seems like this has all been a blessing in disguise. Your friend has escaped the clutches of a stuck-up, narrow-minded, condescending, a little shrimp of a man. Good for her, and good for you for being such a good friend. I couldn't say it better, and that is the end of that story, and I couldn't agree more.
Yes.